We said that we want all people not born in the Western Cape pre-94 to sell their assets and go home.
All right.
This is what we did not.
94% of them being black?
I don't know what the demographic is, but if it is, so be it.
Why do you want them to go home?
We sit with a situation in the Cape Flats where our community, the so-called coloured community, is growing exponentially poorer as a direct result of the influx, especially from the Western Cape, from the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape, with people coming and taking, and government being solely at fault for the implementation of national demographics against the Constitutional Court order that negatively impacts our community. We've got good young kids sitting with worthless matric diplomas, not getting work because the state doesn't want them. The economy doesn't want them.
Well, why do you think the state or the economy, and that's who you accuse of hiring those from the Eastern Cape, why do you think they'd rather hire them than somebody from the Western Cape?
Well, there's an agenda to keep us poor, to keep us down.
And why would they want to do that?
Well, the ANC sees the Western Cape as a honeypot.
It's the poor black people coming over.
Yes.
The poor black people who are a problem for you. Helen Zille said exactly the same thing. She said the refugees, the migrants from the Eastern Cape must stay away. So are you using her role book for your platform?
I really agree with Helen Zille. But on this day I will. It is hurting our economy.
But like I say, there's one more policeman that I'm gunning for. Like he's gunning for me. You know, but you must understand, man.
He's gunning for you too?
Yeah. Yeah. This Lavender Lighty will not spect. I won't stand down. He must come. He must come. I was once told about a room where only one of us will walk out of. My shoulder is starting to heal very nicely. Like I said, I will moor him with one arm. I'll probably kill him with two. If he wants a room, he must tell me where. When. How. He can even choose a weapon. As a matter of fact, no?
A weapon?
Bro.
Yeah.
To make it a fair fight between me and that arsehole, no?
Asshole?
Arsehole.
Yo.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. I will be fair. He can have an axe. You see, you get those that talk war. Then you get those that run from war. Like that little thief. And then you get those that were made in war. I'm ready for war. I don't care what the public says. He's winning the TikTok war. We're winning the war of facts. The war before the court. The one that matters. The one that comes with prison sentences and boyfriends. That's the war we're winning.
The leader of the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, has angered many South Africans after publicly defending Vadiel Adams following his arrest in Cape Town on Tuesday. Adams, the leader of the National Coloured Congress Party, was arrested by the Political Killings Task Team after failing to present himself at the nearest police station as instructed. His arrest sparked widespread debate across social media, with many South Africans accusing political leaders of protecting one another despite serious allegations. Malema, who appeared frustrated by the manner in which Adams was treated during the arrest, took to his X-App platform to voice his support for his fellow member of parliament. He posted an image showing Adams seated at the back of a police van and compared the situation to the treatment of anti-apartheid activist Steve Biko during the apartheid era, and wrote, "This is wrong in all respects. That's what the apartheid regime did to Steve Biko. It might be nice to your ears and eyes for now, but this is inhumane and disrespectful. Who's this guy? A murderer? Or an honourable member of parliament who went about doing what he's elected to do?" However, Malema's comments did not sit well with many South Africans who accused him of supporting criminality and attempting to shield Adams from accountability. Critics argued that Adams had already been given an opportunity to hand himself over to the police but failed to do so, leading to his arrest. Many social media users said no politician should receive special treatment simply because they hold public office, while others argued the law must apply equally to everyone regardless of political affiliation. Responding to his statement, one said, "Owa Moshabi, he had a choice to hand himself, but he was acting tough. Please don't compare the legend Steve Biko with his person who called people from Eastern Cape and other provinces in Cape Town refugees. We stand with SAPS in these difficult times." Another one said, criminals defending criminal syndicates, you must be ashamed of yourself. This man disrespected the law. He thought he was above the law. Everyone must be equal in the eyes of the law just because he's a member of parliament or leader of a political party. Another one stated, EFF members have started deleting negative tweets about Fadiel Adams. The CIC has spoken. Another one said, Mkhwanazi did say sishaya inja kuphume umnikazi wayo. Diyema lapho. Another one supported Julius Malema and said, agreed, Mr. Malema, I don't like this guy, but the law cannot be abused in this manner. If General Mkhwanazi and his team really drove this person in the back of the bakkie from City to Durban, it's a disgrace. Another one said, first Winnie Mandela, now Steve Biko. For a guy that was well communicated to present himself to the police station, now the entire EFF has to support this. You're putting through other kids a lot, and I love it. Another one said, they treated him well, my leader. 100%. They allowed him to smoke. They will never do that to an average citizen. This guy got all the privilege. Manje aikali. Another one stated, under Section 9 of the Constitution, everyone is equal before the law. If you wanted to be transported in a luxury vehicle or any other form of transport, he should have organized it himself on the day he was supposed to report to the police station as ordered by the SAPS. Another one stated, Steve Biko was never implicated in murder cases. He died fighting for South Africans to have freedom. There's nothing honorable with someone who is in contact with a murder. Someone also said, that's the problem. You guys think you are special, calling each other honorable member. What's honorable about you or him? You are nothing special. If it was a member of the public, you wouldn't be saying this. Another one stated, CIC, this man cannot be compared with Steve Biko, please, and Biko's torture. Biko will turn his grave. I request that you don't put your head on the block for Fadiel. He wouldn't do the same for you. The man even has racist tendencies. He should have handed himself over. He didn't. I'm only seeing your comment now. Steve Biko was one of South Africa's most influential anti-apartheid activists and a symbol of black resistance against white minority rule during apartheid. Born on 18 December 1946 in King Williamstown, Biko became widely known for founding the Black Consciousness movement in the late 1960s. The movement encouraged Black South Africans to reject feelings of inferiority created by apartheid and to take pride in their identity, culture, and political power. Biko believed that psychological liberation was essential before political freedom could be achieved. One of his most famous ideas was that the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. As a student leader, he helped establish the South African Students' Organization, SASCO, in 1969 after black students became frustrated with white-dominated liberal student groups. Through his writings and activism, Biko inspired thousands of young South Africans to resist apartheid. Because of his growing influence, the apartheid government saw him as a threat. In 1973, he was placed under a banning order which restricted where he could go, whom he could meet, and even prevented him from speaking publicly. In August 1977, Biko was arrested at a police roadblock near Grahamstown, now Makhanda. While in police custody in Port Elizabeth, he was brutally beaten and tortured by apartheid security police. Reports later revealed that he suffered severe head injuries. Despite his critical condition, police transported him naked in the back of a Land Rover for more than 1,000 kilometers to Pretoria, where he was left untreated in a prison cell. He died on 12 September 1977. At the age of 30. The apartheid government initially claimed he died from a hunger strike, but evidence later exposed the truth about the torture and abuse he suffered in custody. His death caused international outrage and intensified global pressure against apartheid South Africa. Biko's legacy continues to influence politics, activism, and discussions around racial justice in South Africa and around the world. His life was also portrayed in the film Cry Freedom, which brought global attention to his story. Meanwhile, the leadership of the Economic Freedom Fighters has once again rallied behind Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema, despite growing public criticism over his defense of Fadayel Adams. Among those who quickly came to Malema's defense was the EFF national spokesperson Senal Tambo, a figure known for fiercely backing the party leader during controversial moments. Critics have pointed out that Tambo previously defended Malema when he accused Mazi Kubeka of allegedly faking his kidnapping and even suggested that Kubeka should face criminal charges, remarks that sparked outrage at the time. He reposted a tweet that was saying Mazi faked his kidnapping and must be charged for that. Now Tambo has once again entered the spotlight after reacting to comments made by Atlenda Mate, the spokesperson for the South African Police Service. Mate had warned members of the media against filming police vehicles and members of the Political Killings Task Team, saying they are involved in high-profile and highly sensitive investigations. In response, Tambo posted a strongly worded statement on social media accusing authorities of promoting secrecy and raising concerns about police accountability, and said, "By the logic, all police must hide their faces and their cars must not be filmed. What exactly is not a high-risk or sensitive case? Police who investigate crimes in communities will begin to make the same request and start operating wearing balaclavas. How will corrupt police be identified? This request operates on a wrong presumption that police are incorruptible and naturally ethical. Let's not create some Gestapo unit of the police in the name of fighting crime. It won't end well." Tambo's remarks immediately divided public opinion. Supporters of the EFF argued that transparency within law enforcement is essential in a democratic society and warned against giving police units unchecked power. Others, however, accused the party of undermining specialized crime-fighting units that are tasked with handling dangerous and politically sensitive cases. One commented and said a high-risk case example when Julius Malema tells illegal foreigners to occupy any vacant land anywhere, then goes to bid for a tender worth millions to evict the same people by four for a starter. Another one stated, "You want them to get killed, like they've been killing other witnesses from the Madlanga Commission. An issues now, who are these criminals you all are protecting so bad?" Meanwhile, Fadayel Adams will remain behind bars until next week after he appeared in the Pinetown Magistrate Court in KwaZulu-Natal on Thursday. Adams faces charges of defeating the ends of justice for allegedly interfering with Sindiso Magaqa's murder case, was killed in 2017. The state is of the opinion that Adams acted unlawfully under the guise of his MP status, went to visit the suspected hitman Sibusise Ngcengwa in the Magaqa murder. The state opposed the release of Adams, stating that they needed to prepare for bail, and said the initial view for the state would have been to come and then request that he be released. However, the attitude of the prosecution has since changed. If the state did not oppose, it will be a dereliction of duties. Issues need to be put before the court. We request a reasonable opportunity to obtain material information. The state said part of the information needed is important for the bail application. They need to check the information which emanated from Adams' press briefing, which was described as pertinent. The prosecutor stated he openly said that he is a fugitive, a loose transition, someone running from the law. It concerns us. He goes further to say among his press briefings, "If you want to find me, you can come to find me, or if you want to find me, arrest me." This is indicative of catch me if you can. Information the state seeks to procure is information relating to the applicants towards the court and justice system. What's your take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.